All right, and we're live, folks. Hello, how's it going, everyone out there? Another edition of Boxing Chit, number 17 here, 17 and counting. We're going to keep this thing going. Of course, I'm Joshua. Alongside me is none other than Boz, back in action. How's it going, my man?
Oh yeah, it's really hot where I am now. Infernally hot. Yeah, but it's not
Cool.
so bad. Yeah,
All right, good to go. Yeah,
yeah,
I'm getting over a little cold, some congestion, a little sickness or illness myself here. Just holding
all
it
right.
down. I asked myself what would Colin Cowherd do, and he would keep the show rolling. So I decided, hey, let's go. Let's keep this thing going.
Yeah.
Of course, with your encouragement as well. So we're in this thing. Yeah.
Mm,
So this past weekend wasn't a huge weekend as far as names in the sport of boxing. There was a big MMA, which the UFC in particular card that was on. But as far as boxing is concerned, it wasn't well a weekend of huge names. We did have
mm,
uh, probably the marquee fight was the not title fight, but heavyweight just fight in general between Joe the Juggernaut Joyce and Christian Hammer, who is a German Romanian. He represents Germany, and this was Joyce's first time in the ring since defeating Carlos Takam. I can't remember when Hammer was last in the ring, but Hammer is one of those guys who is sort of, you could almost say journeyman in some sense, but he's just like a stepping stone. And I don't mean that in a bad way. He's just someone, yeah, as you excelling up the levels, you take on a guy like Hammer, and you should be able to get past him if you're expected to do some great things in the heavyweight division. And
yeah.
Joe Joyce, he was able to get past him. He actually got a stoppage. Yeah, I can't remember the exact round, but I did feel that it was a pretty decent fight leading up to that point. Probably mainly because of the fact that Hammer was able to land on Joyce, who seemed to have no regard for what was coming back to him. And he showed that he has a pretty solid chin. But overall, it was an interesting fight, and it posed the question of what happens next for Joe Joyce. But I don't know if you were able to catch the fight. If so, please share your thoughts.
Well, yeah. I did anyway, more or less. But yeah. Joyce took some, big shots in that fight, but he ended the fight in the fourth round. So
Mm.
yeah, it was, because Hammer is still a much smaller man, and he just has been, in the game for a while and has had his share of beatings, to put it that way. I don't know how many times he has been stopped, but it surely has been stopped at least a couple of times before. So,
Certainly.
I think it was just another fight, a stay busy fight for Joyce rather than a real challenge. But as you said, Hammer is a guy who isn't who is no like not a bum or anything. It's just that he's like a sort of a gatekeeper or something like that. Uh, if you
Yeah.
can't get past him, you are never gonna get far. Or if you struggle against him also, so
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I'd say that. Yeah, I think you're correct in that sense. Yeah, Hammer, he certainly came to fight, and he was
Yeah,
out there swinging. He was trying to land some big stuff, but Joyce was able to avoid the bigger punches that Hammer was throwing, and Joyce, he invested in the body, and I think that's what ultimately did Hammer in, because he went down those last couple of times primarily due to taking that body shot, and then he taking some body shots, and he was pretty much done for after that. So, as mentioned, Joyce did take some shots. I think that might have been more so he wasn't really fearing what was coming back from Hammer. So I don't know that he would just barrel in like that if he was in with someone who he felt could do more significant damage to him.
yeah,
But he did what he had to do. He was able to get the win, and even in the aftermath of the fight, when they were speaking with him and Frank Warren, they seem to be approaching it from the standpoint that it was one of those stay busy fights, just kind
Yeah.
of to get a tune up in before getting
Hmm.
to something that was much bigger. And that is the interesting part right there, because clearly Joyce wants to get a title shot. And of course, when he started his career, given that he started late, I think he was already 34 maybe, or 30,
Yeah.
yeah, somewhere around there. And
Yeah. I
he
think so.
had intentions to fast track his way there to title contention, so I'm sure he's looking for that. The name that has been thrown about, or what the fight that has been thrown about, is him taking on the winner of Usyk versus Joshua. Now, I think that
Hmm.
would be certainly interesting. Of course, him and Usyk fought in the World Series of boxing, and Usyk was able to beat him, so they have that sort of back end sort of drama, big drama show, in the words of
Yeah.
Triple G, that they can rely on. But that being said, depending on what happens with this Usyk Joshua fight, for instance, if Joshua were to win, then I wonder if they would go into a trilogy fight. You know what I'm saying? So there's some big
Yeah.
questions as to who Joyce can actually take on as far as getting a title.
Hmm. But I would of course love to see him fight against somebody like Philip Pergovich, or one of
Yeah,
those guys that are big, like equally big, and can punch, but also can box. That's very important because Joyce hasn't yet really faced a technical fighter, I would say, of note anyway. Because Dubois
I
was,
wonder
of
if he would
course,
take on a Hergovich. I wonder if he would take on a Hergovich. They were mentioning
yeah,
mandatory, like he's a mandatory, I guess, for one of those belts. I don't see him taking on
yeah.
Hergovich.
Well,
What do you
maybe
think?
Tony Yoka, but now he has lost, so that fight
Yeah,
makes less sense. But still, he could do that. He could fight him, and then maybe, I don't know, somebody who can, like that Chinese guy Zhang, also
oh
a
yeah,
very
John Delay.
yeah, that would be also a pretty good fight because they are both about equally tall, I believe, and
Yeah,
Zhang can hit, but he has shown that he can also take a good punch, I guess, and so that would be a really good fight. But Joyce has, as you said, whether it's his disregard for his own, how you call it, safety or whatever, or whether he just has poor defense, he has proven to be really easy to hit,
yeah,
especially against guys who are, in the top 10, or, somewhere around there. Like,
yeah,
for instance, Takam, also, he like won the first 3 or 4 rounds, I don't know, something like that in that fight. So, and
hmm
then, but Joyce has power, of course. He has proven that, and he is pretty effective as a puncher, and yeah, he has
yeah,
shown the ability to end the fight rather suddenly, also, like against Takam and now against Hammer as well. So yeah,
yeah. Yeah, maybe him taking those shots on a routine basis isn't necessarily an anomaly, and it's more so just kind of who he is as a fighter. And he
yeah,
seems to be able to weather the storm, or at least thus far, he's been able to weather the storm in his career. So I do think of now, of course, Daniel Dynamite Dubois, who since they have fought has managed to pick up a WBA title. And
yeah,
Joe Joyce, of course, defeated Dubois, gave him his first loss, basically broke his orbital bone or something of that nature, had his eye
yeah.
swollen, made him take a
But he
knee
didn't.
and finish the fight. Yeah. And he has a belt now. That's a name that was thrown out there as well. I don't recall who is actually promoted. I guess Du Bois is with Frank Warren, huh? So maybe it's
Mm,
feasible to make in some sense. I wonder how much of that fight Du Bois wants again, or whether he wants that fight again. I would think that he seemed to have the mentality that he would take on anyone, and he was calling out the likes of Usyk and Joshua. But for me
Yeah.
personally, I feel like there's unfinished business there between him and Joyce. So that's what I would like to see more so than Joyce waited out for Joshua Usyk, which could still be up
Yeah.
in the air as to whether he actually gets a title shot in the aftermath of that anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. I also like to see the George Dubois too, because I feel I may be in a minority there, but I feel that Dubois simply got a little unlucky that his eyes, happened to close. I mean, he did take a lot of jabs, but to that eye, but still, otherwise he was really doing. Doing the most damage I felt, in that fight, and it's just that Joyce was able to take that damage, and so
Yeah,
yeah,
I felt the tide was shifting somewhat around the time of his eye getting messed up. I felt the tide was starting to shift towards Joyce, and because Dubois had, of course, given him a bunch of his best stuff, and Joyce took it, but that doesn't necessarily mean that, of course,
yeah,
Joyce couldn't rebound from there. But I did feel the tide was turning, and Joyce, he kind of just did it with a jab. For the most part, it was a jab that kind of won him
yeah.
over, I would say.
It's just that he won so easily. You might say he didn't really do much other than jab, jab, and take punches. So, but fair enough. So now, now maybe we can see Dubois get his revenge. Eventually, or whatever
Yeah,
happens.
it'll be certainly interesting. And shout out to my mom, hey son and Boz watching, have a blessed and safe fourth. Thank you, you as well. Enjoy. Appreciate you dropping in for sure. Number one fan there. But
Yeah,
yeah, but yeah, I think it would be interesting. Now I will say that, I will say that I don't feel that Dubois has changed much since that fight with Joyce. So I don't know if it would be different overall because he seems to be the type who's still, high motor there to start things and he's going in for it.
yeah,
And by that same token, I don't know that Joyce has changed much since the last fight either. So it should be
yeah.
pretty interesting.
Yeah, that's why I said, maybe this time the Dubois team will come with a better strategy. I don't know, because he was kind of, you know, how do you say, he was just not pacing himself enough. Maybe
Yeah,
he just emptied his guns a little too early also, and then
yeah.
he kind of faded. He did seem to fade, in the last couple rounds anyway. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think he got a little bit too in love with his power there early on,
Yeah.
and he was trying. I know he was in on trying to get Joyce out of there. And maybe he should not focus on trying to stop him in his next fight if they or the rematch, and focus on boxing.
Yeah, when he did knock out a few guys that were, either unbeaten before, like Gorman, or they were, rather tough, I mean, solid fighters, but they were mostly, British or European level. So, you know,
Yeah,
that
yeah,
that was the first real test for him against Joyce, and he failed it in the end. But it's not because he wasn't good enough necessarily, but he just had the wrong game plan, I guess, and yeah, the
yeah.
everything backfired. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. The potential is certainly there. So we'll certainly see what the outcome is once we continue to
Mm,
move forward. Now, also on this card was the return of Zolani Tete, and he took
yeah.
on a fighter by the name of Cunningham. I don't recall his first name, but a UK fighter. And
Oh yeah, Jason.
Tete was
Yeah, I
looking.
think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Tete was looking to bounce back. Of course, he was knocked out by John Riel Casimiro, and
Yeah.
many people felt that Tete was ultimately going to be the one to win the World Boxing Super Series, or at least come damn close to it here a couple of years ago, because of his big punching power and all that stuff. But Tete was kind of on a downturn, but he seemed to have bounced back. In this fight, he had a brutal knockout in the fourth round He actually caught and hurt Cunningham, and then Cunningham was able to get back up, and then Tete ended up catching him again with, I believe it was a right hook that sent him down to the canvas, and his head snapped off the canvas. It was it's not the most brutal knockout we've seen or anything, but it was a pretty tough one that Tete was able to get there, and he's back in the winning circle or winner circle, back ready to
Yeah.
jump in there. And I think, given how he looked in this particular fight, then it makes for intriguing potential matchups if we see him somewhere down the road against some of the other top fighters there at super bantamweight.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I always liked watching Tete fight. He is definitely a world class fighter, and with his height, which is extraordinary
Right.
in his divisions. It's like he's sort of like a smaller version of, I don't know, Tommy Hearns or somebody. Like a guy who really hits hard, but he's also very very tall. And yeah,
No, yeah.
like you had Celestino Caballero also, for instance, before, who was like that, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm with you there, certainly.
Mhm.
And I think that yeah, his style is an exciting one.
Mm.
Um, I'm looking here, so he's at super bantam. What it
Yeah.
was stating. So let me see. So
I
is
don't know.
that
I
one?
guess. Yeah. I
Bantam
guess
is 118, so 122.
the loss to Casimiro was just a matter of him, maybe not. I mean, just getting caught by surprise.
Hey,
And
yeah. Hey, sometimes that's how it is. You get caught with something, you're up out of there.
yeah, and Casimiro is a real, serious puncher, so obviously, yeah, he is. He has
Yeah,
his share of knockouts against good opponents, so
yeah, I agree. So I was looking at the ratings here in terms of who's rated in the top 10 there at Super Bantam. Of course, that could
yeah.
vary with something. But I'm looking at the ring, of course. Stephen Fulton is up top along with Mirjan Akhmadaliev. I think those
Oh
two
yeah.
are the two. I think they're rightfully the two top guys there. And if all things go in accordance with plan, they're going to be fighting here, hopefully sometime later this year, in what will be another undisputed championship matchup fight, or yeah,
Yes.
championship fight. And
Yeah.
I think that would be great. That's great for the sport that we're seeing more of these. So right now, Tete, he isn't in the top 10. This may elevate him up a little bit more, at least in that name value, from that value standpoint. Put his name back out there because people know what he can do
Mm.
punch wise. But there's some choices out there. You still have Luis Neri, who is out there, who only has that one
Yeah.
loss to Brandon Figueroa. That might be a pretty
Yeah.
interesting one. Neri versus Tete. Uh,
Mm.
you have him. You have Rais Alim, I've seen him a few times. He's pretty solid boxer just from overall standpoint. It would be interesting to see how Tete dealt with him and how
Mm.
Alim dealt with Tete's power. So that's a potential out there. Danny Roman, who just lost to someone. Oh yeah, Stephen Fulton actually. He just lost to Stephen
Yeah.
Fulton.
Steven
Then you have
inside.
Brandon Figueroa out there. A few guys that are out there though. Though it'll be interesting. There are potential good matchups for Tete if they can be made.
Yeah. And that guy you mentioned a second. Who was it? The
Uh,
first guy was
Luis Neri.
yeah, Luis Nair. Yeah, he's a really also dangerous
Yeah,
puncher, and the guy before him, there was
yeah.
someone.
So Luis Neri. Then I mentioned Rais Alim and
No,
Brendan
bef-
Figueroa and
before
Danny
that, I think.
Roman.
Oh, yeah. Well, anyway, yeah, maybe I was thinking of someone, but anyway, yeah.
But then I mentioned
Lu-
MJ, Mirjan Akhmadaliev.
Oh
But
yeah, 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 yeah. He is
But he
very
has
good.
the IBF and WBA, and Fulton has the WBC and WBO. So I
Right.
think that is the sort of pathway towards
Yeah.
each of their next fight right there. They
Yeah, it
both
will be
recently fought.
really the major fight in the division right now. And, Ahmed Aliyev just scored a crushing victory last weekend against Ronnie Rios, right? Yeah.
Oh yeah. Rios, yeah, stopped him in the 12th round.
Yeah, so
That
he's
was a good performance by Mirajan. He hurt his hand, and he was actually still able to come
yeah.
on and stopped him. He had some metal to him for sure. Yeah, I
Mm,
had spoke about that last week. Yeah, I forgot. I was just on here. You weren't on here last week, but yeah, I
yeah.
did speak on that. It was a good performance for MJ, especially with him being limited with his left hand there at the in the latter part of the fight. There's also this Armenian fighter Azad Havanesian.
Oh yeah.
He's out
Oh
there, top 10 ranked.
yeah, that's right. I think I've seen, but I haven't really seen him fight. I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think I
Uh,
have either. Matter of fact, I'm pulling him up. I see he has 3 losses. Well, he lost to Ray Vargas, but that was back in 2018, it looks like.
but you
Ray
know
Vargas
what?
used to be fighting, actually.
Yeah. You know what? I saw something strange. Before today, it says that I believe it's next week that Israel Madrimov is gonna fight Michel Soro again, and he stopped him
Oh, yeah.
in the last fight. Why are they fighting again? I don't get it.
Oh,
If it's
yeah,
not
you're
like
right.
it's not like he won by a split decision or something, Madrimov. So
Yeah, I'm
that's
not sure. I
pretty.
did see that as well. I had saw that a few weeks back, as a matter of fact, that they were doing a rematch. Maybe that was the only thing out there he could get. You know, I
Yeah,
don't know. That is interesting, but yeah, you're right. He did knock
we.
him out. Now I haven't seen
Yeah.
that fight. I've seen the knockout in itself. I like Madrimal. I think he's one of those high potential guys as well. But yeah, I don't
Mm.
know why. Maybe this is the case of, hey, we were looking to get him in there with someone else. No one else answered the billing, so now we're going back to
Yeah,
Soro.
Sorry, is he was very good, but now his time is past, I believe, and he just had
Yeah,
the misfortune of getting, the big fights too late. He started to get them, too late at the
yeah.
end of his prime.
I was
So
gonna say he's been out there for a while, but you just never hear him
yeah,
in there or mentioned amongst the big names out there, and
yeah,
that's part of the
exactly.
problem.
Yeah, I think the only he beat. The only guy I know that he beat was Keith Tapia, I think, but he was never like so good. But he may have beaten a few other
Oh
solid
yeah,
fighters.
Glenn Tapia,
So
that was back in 2015. You can't be
yeah,
riding off of that wave, right?
Glenn Tapia, yeah, that's right.
But yeah, I'm looking at his record now, and yeah, a lot of names, but not a lot of big names. He got a majority
Yeah,
draw with Antoine Douglas back in 2014.
hmm.
And yeah, okay, so that, and then Tapia, and since then, yeah, not a lot of huge names. But he got this Brian Castano. Oh yeah, he lost
Yeah,
to Brian Castano
that's what
in
I was
split
gonna
decision.
ask. Didn't he fight Castaño? Yeah, he did. Because Castaño fought in France before a few times. Yeah, that's
Mm-hmm.
right.
So yeah, but yeah, it's going down in the O2 Arena.
Wow.
Let me see.
That's
This is under, it's under some card. Let me see. Oh, it says yeah, it's on the Derek Chisora Kubrat Pulev card.
oh no, another really wow, terrible decision to match these two up. Well,
Yeah,
did they fight again before? I mean, I
yeah, they
don't know.
fought before. I
Oh
can't
yeah,
remember.
right.
I don't think I watched it. I don't remember who won, but I'm assuming Pulev won because he
Pulev, yeah,
hadn't had any losses.
yeah,
Or
he just
he's only lost to Joshua
and
um,
Vladimir Klitschko.
Vladimir Klitschko. Maybe those are the only two, right?
Yeah, I think so. I don't think he
Yeah.
has any others. That's because he mostly fought, guys. Very,
Yeah, it was a
very
decision. He
average.
got a 12-round decision victory over Chisora last time out.
Yeah, right. I don't know really why Pule and Chisora. I mean, they should both be retired already, but for some
Yeah,
reason they just keep fighting, keep on fighting, and
guess the
yeah,
money is good. You know they're gonna
yeah,
have to. You know they're gonna have decent fanfare over there in O2 because the UK fans always turn up.
yeah,
So
yeah,
that's
and
gonna keep them coming back.
yeah, Chisora is always gonna have his fans, in UK. Same with Dillian White and
Oh yeah,
whoever.
yeah. It's a pretty interesting card overall. You have of course Madrimov versus Soro. Also Felix Cash, who I like, taking on Von Alexander, who is Devin Alexander's brother.
All
Uh,
right.
I think that Cash is gonna beat him. Von is tough, but limited. It's tough but limited somewhat.
Yeah.
You also have Fabio Wardley is going to be returning to action, but his opponent hasn't
Oh yeah.
been announced, so it's likely not going to be anyone of note. Uh,
Yeah, that's right. Wardley. Yeah, I almost forgot about him and all this old mess with all
Ramla
the
Ali, who
others.
they have a lot of backing on, but yeah, Wardley he fought Daniel March last time.
Oh yeah.
I guess they're slow rolling them. I thought that the Richard Lardy and Eric Molina fights would mean a further step up, but I guess you
That
just kind of
was
see what's out there.
yeah. Molina fight was almost funny. He when he seems that he's gonna get knocked out,
Yeah.
he just pulls out a big punch. Wardley. That's all. She wrote. But I do really like him. I mean, he's got the, how to say, the way he throws his punches. It's like very carefully. He
hmm
picks his shots well, to put it that way.
Yeah, a lot of potential there. So Wardley's
Yeah,
13-0 with 12 stoppages.
very sharp
Um,
puncher and big hard puncher also.
yeah, it's just a matter of how they want to continue to move them up. It'd
Yeah.
be interesting. There's some guys out there, of course, that he can look good against, who are some tough guys and all that stuff.
Mm.
So potential is there, but he's 27, so he should be in or entering his prime in some sense, at least how they at least that's what they generally say. So maybe Wardley, he's a name that pops up there with the even bigger name here later down the road. Maybe it's 2023 where he really takes his big jump. Uh,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Well.
he's going to be fighting here. But I do like him as well in terms of his potential. He definitely has the size, power,
Yeah. He's.
seemingly.
Yeah. I like the fact that he's not so heavily built. Like George Shaw and those
Yeah,
guys. That very muscular. I don't think that helps a lot, really, that much
yeah,
in boxing. Like with Frank Bruno, he was pretty much the first one. That was the proof of that. Too
yeah,
much, too much muscle doesn't go along well with boxing. Because
yeah,
it affects your stamina. All that your
yeah.
sharpness, I guess, also to a degree. I don't.
Yeah,
Yeah.
certainly doesn't guarantee you a knockout victory.
Yeah, let me just pump up some, iron and then I can knock out. That's how the stupid guys think. I can knock out everybody if I get big enough muscles. It's all
hmm
down to the technique, Yeah, it is the speed and all that.
Yeah, uh, yeah, you're right. I was just looking, and of course, Marius Briedis just fought again. And apparently, he lost to
Yeah,
this guy, Jai Opetaia.
Opetaia,
Opetaia.
Opetaia. Yeah, I
Jai
think he's
Opetaia.
like a Samoan who fights in
Oh yeah,
Australia, like
yeah, yeah.
something.
He is Australian cat.
Yeah, I
I
saw
don't know
that
if I've seen him.
he suffered a really pretty bad injury somewhere like in this area. I don't know, but he still won on points pretty comfortably.
Oh yeah, yeah. I need
Yeah,
to go back and watch that one. I was waiting for Briedis to get back in there. Man, that I guess that kind of throws a hammer or a wrench into the plans of potential Briedis versus Lawrence Okoli fight.
oh yeah, yeah. Just, I mean, I don't know really if I would have wanted to see the fight anyway because Briedis is no longer at his best, and Okoli, as I said, he has his limitations. He's pretty. I mean, he's good to watch knocking out guys who are like past their best or never were that good. But I had a chat with right before I left for to come here with some guys
Yeah,
from another podcast, and this one guy who seemed to know a lot about these guys in UK said that Richard Riakporhe is actually
yeah.
better than Okoli, and he thought that he would for sure beat him.
Oh
And
yeah.
I must say I probably agree, but I haven't seen that much of Riakporhe, but he does look a lot sharper than Okoli to me.
Yeah, I gotta check out React. I know you're talking about. I
Yeah,
need to check him out. I haven't really checked out any of his stuff,
yeah.
but I remember you mentioning that before. But yeah, that's pretty interesting. Then, and React is a cruiserweight.
Yeah, he's also
Okay.
6'5" like Okoli, but I don't think he doesn't have such long like skinny legs like Okoli has. Those very long skinny legs
Oh yeah,
where
yeah,
that can be a problem sometimes when you get wobbled or something. It doesn't help if you have that type of legs, I think.
yeah. That is interesting. Cool. I'm gonna check React out. I'm gonna have to check out this fight as well because I want to see what happened as far as how Breedis looked. I know we had been
Yeah,
saying it's just like all this time in between when he last fought probably wasn't doing him any justice, because last time we
yeah,
saw him, of course, he was on his game and the best cruiserweight in boxing in the world, basically, and of
yeah.
course,
He was, hmm. But
he,
he fought. He's like he started fighting dirty. Lately when he fought. Was it against who was it against? That fight ended like in 3 rounds, but it was like
oh,
should have
Arthur
been
Mann.
yeah, or no, not him, but there was somebody like Wolodarsky or
Oh
somebody.
yeah,
I don't.
Christoph Goloski.
Yeah, so that fight was very very strange how it ended
Oh yeah, it
because
was. It's
actually
trouble.
Briedis he fouled Wolodarsky and then the referee just stopped it and it was a knockout or something. What? I was like, what?
Yeah, that was a crazy one. And then Robert Byrd didn't hear. It was Robert Byrd. He didn't hear the
Oh yeah.
bell, so they were fighting after the bell. And Gavoski got stopped. Well, he got dropped after the
Yeah.
bell. And he was on wobbly legs, and it was just a crazy sequence.
Yeah, so as I said, Briedis is like 37 or
Yeah,
I don't.
37,
Yeah, I
going
mean,
on 38.
or yeah, that's right. I would, yeah, he will always be, a very good technical boxer, but he still has achieved everything I believe now that he could. So I think he probably would. It would be smartest for him to retire now, because
Yeah, may very well be.
yeah,
May very well be with him in this case. But he had a pretty solid career. I mean, he was legitimately,
yeah,
you could consider him the best cruiserweight in the world when Usyk ended up moving up.
mm,
So yeah, well, there were
yeah,
some other fights that I wish we would have got to see, but hey,
mm,
it is what it is.
yeah,
So maybe Opetaia, I need to check him out to see how he looks. Just for
yeah. Me
myself, of
too.
course. But that win over Briedis, that puts him up there in at the top of the division right there, or at least right in that
Yeah,
mix for sure.
yeah. It's like passing of a torch. You first really beat Marco Hook to take his spot, and now
Oh yeah,
Opetaia beat Briedis to take his spot. So
Marco
that's
Huck.
how it goes. Marco Hook is like almost like a countryman of mine, or a
Oh yeah.
paisano, how the Italians say, So,
Cool. Hey,
so
Badu Jack is fighting at cruiserweight.
all right. Oh, by the way, yeah, that's right. He is, yeah, but he's
Now I
like
don't know. I
30.
know he's not a huge guy up there.
Yeah,
If he's in
no,
there
no,
with
he's not.
one of these other guys, he's gonna look pretty small.
All right. I got a message from my landlady. I gotta do turn off some kind of light. Well, anyway, no, doesn't
Uh,
matter. I don't. I see now there is nothing burning out there. Yeah.
cool, cool. But yeah, yeah. So that's what went down there, and then
Mm.
yeah, I didn't catch Tanaka Kosai or whatever his name
Oh
is.
yeah, the Japanese fight. Yeah.
Yeah, what's his name?
Yeah, that one I
Kosei
didn't catch
Tanaka.
for sure.
He got a
Yeah.
victory.
Mm.
He picked up the win. Oh yeah, he had beat Ioka. I think I saw that fight.
Oh
Um,
yeah, Kazuto Ayoka. Yeah.
so I think this was on early. Yeah, with the fights in Japan, yeah, it's always tough catching those. Always tough catching those. He took on Masayoshi Hashizumi, who was undefeated at the
All
time.
right. Hmm.
Looks like it was a fifth round TKO loss that Hashizumi took in at the hands of Tanaka. And this is
Yeah,
what Tanaka had. He has the WBO. Oh, he doesn't have a major belt. Hey, maybe that's in the billing coming up here. Superfly. Superfly is a pretty
All
hot
right.
division right now, so we'll see.
Yeah.
You went on the last one, but Bam Rodriguez, he destroyed Sarissa Sorungvisai,
Oh
and
yeah.
he's a talented
Yeah.
young man. I mean, it was
I was
absolute
so
destruction.
so sad about that. That guy was really one of my favorite fighters at the flyweight weights.
Yeah, yeah.
Three socket.
You
Yeah.
know, I had even tweeted out. I was like, I'm with Sarungvisai in this one. I thought it was going to be a
Yeah.
bridge too far for Bam Rodriguez, but man, he's legit. His his
Yeah.
footwork is amazing. He has amazing footwork, and that allows him to have this crazy punch placement. I mean, you got to be
Mm.
100% on your game, and if you're slow and sort of plotting, which can be the case with Sarung Visai at times, man, you have no
Mm.
chance against Bam Rodriguez.
Yeah. I guess it was both a question of Rodriguez being very good and Sorungu's side not being at his very best anymore, obviously, because
Yeah,
otherwise I don't think Rodriguez could have been too good for him, so put it that
yeah,
way. Yeah.
yeah. And Rodriguez was super accurate and sharp with his punches. Sarung Visai, he was able to land a few things here and there. But Rodriguez, hey, he took them. His face was red in some areas, but man, he took them well, and
Mm.
he never let his guard down and stayed fight ready the entire time. So definitely props to Rodriguez. He showed that he's a
Yeah.
legitimate force there at Superfly, and they were saying he could go back down to like
All right.
112
Mm.
or even 108 or something. I thought I'd heard him say, which makes it interesting.
Mm.
Hopefully, the talk is now potential for him to take on Chocolatito, Juan Francisco Gonzalez, or
Oh
even
yeah.
hopefully later down the road we get to see some of these guys against Naoya Inoue as well.
That would be very exciting. But I was just thinking something. I believe Sorungusa has been at that weight, super flyweight, most of his career. Isn't that so? So I think he has, right?
Yeah, I believe that is the case.
So
I don't
that's
think.
kind of strange. Maybe that the stuff what happened was that he simply wasn't able to make that weight very comfortably. Maybe I don't know. I'm not making up excuses for him just because I like him, but it's possible. I'm just trying to to find out whether it could have been
Yeah,
the case.
he's been at Superfly. It might have been Superfly his entire. Yeah, I think it is his entire career.
Yeah, but he's like 35, 36, something like that.
No, it looks
Yeah.
like he was flyweight for a short period.
All right.
I need to see where this may have ended at. I know he was so he turned pro in 2009. He was
Yeah.
Superfly by 2011. I know that from what I can
All
gather
right.
here. So he's been Superfly since at least better part of 10 years, 10 plus years.
Right. Hmm. That's strange.
Yeah. So I don't know, yeah, but Sarung Vasai, he was outclassed to the highest degree in that fight. But hey, I commend Bam Rodriguez. He's the real deal. And he took that fight and he didn't shy away from it. And I think he
Yeah.
has pound for pound potential. If he keeps this up, pound for pound potential, I think depending on how things go, a potential matchup at some point between him and Inoue would be pretty amazing.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah.
And he's so young. He's only 22 at this point.
Yeah. Right. I don't have anything much to say, but yeah, I think that would be really worth watching. Yeah.
Cool. Now, one sec. I was about to look at the as far as what's coming up. We did talk about that card here next week in
Hmm.
UK. Dani Nietes is going to take on Kazuto Ioka. This is going to be on a
Oh,
Wednesday, so I'm sure it's going to
he's
be a weird time.
still fighting that guy. Wow.
Yeah,
I
it's going to be
thought
on
he
Wednesday the 13th.
thought he
Um,
retired. Donnie Nietes.
no, not yet. He's still up in that thing.
But he still got only one loss, so, or is it two?
So he's 40. He had just one. He
Yeah.
drew in his last fight out.
Yeah, he's had a few draws. I know already, like
Yeah,
three, maybe
6
three,
actually.
6. Wow.
Yeah, some of them came earlier in his career, but he's had 2 draws in his last 5. So yeah, but he did beat Ioka in 2018. We'll
Oh yeah,
see
yeah.
what the deal is now. So he's
He
40.
beat.
We'll see if
Yeah,
Father Time has caught up with him.
yeah. I know he's got pretty good. How to say? Uh, very good record. He has beaten guys like Juan Carlos Reveco, for instance, and Kazuto Ioka, of course, and a few of
Mm-hmm.
those Thai guys. Porn Savan, Porn Pram, or something like that. I don't remember that, but he's got
Mm-hmm.
very good record.
That
Or
Chap Chayapon Moonsri dude is
Munsri,
like
yeah,
Moonsri.
yeah.
He's gonna be fighting. I remember when
All
cats
right,
were just saying, "Oh, he's top 10 pound for pound." But I think they were just bull crap and going with the masses or what they heard or seen online.
all right.
And I'm not saying it as though I watched him and made that determination. I'm just saying that I just remember some people were saying that, "Oh, you got to have him ranked in your." It was like, why? You know what I'm
Yeah, I
saying?
mean, yeah, it's pretty hard these
Yeah.
things when it
I don't.
comes to
I've never
that's
watched one of his fights. I looked at some highlights.
all right. Well, you got guys like, for instance, Omar Andres Narvaez. He's like got like 20 defenses in all, I believe, like 20 title defenses.
Yeah.
Has been champion twice. I think in two different divisions. But when you look at the list of his opponents, he doesn't have too many big names there. So do you
Yeah,
rank him among the top 10 best ever at that weight? That's a big question. That's why I
yeah,
hate doing these pound for pound lists or whatever, anything like when it comes to lists. And guys can be very, when I would do those lists in some kind of forum, like message board, people will be, ha, look at him, look at who he put on his list. So after that, I was like, screw this, I'm not doing this anymore. So
yeah. I feel you. I feel you, without a
very,
doubt.
they can be very, very immature. Some of these boxing fans, they like love
Oh, certainly,
teasing. Yeah,
certainly. Yeah, some of these boxing fans are crazy. They're freaking
yeah,
crazy. This cat got
crazy.
mad
Yeah.
at me. Someone got mad at me and unsubscribed because I posted Happy Juneteenth with Jack Johnson. I posted that picture on my thing. So apparently they were mad because I did that.
Really?
So they said they were
Hmm.
unsubscribing because of my uh
Like,
hate whitey propaganda.
or like too much politics. Oh
I'm like,
no.
what the heck? Come on, man. Have you even seen my page?
Yeah, right.
It's pretty much majority of it is me talking about the great white fighters of the past.
Yeah.
I just put that
Yeah.
up there to celebrate Juneteenth. Jack Johnson
Yeah. I
is
mean,
from Galveston, Texas. That's supposed to be the name of it. Like I'm gonna have a post up there for July 4th as well, and I'm gonna have representation being Jack Dempsey. And speaking of
right.
that, one of the reasons behind is because when we think about July 4th here in the United States, that used to be a major day for having big fights. And while we have a little time left, how about we jump into that? Some of the bigger fights that have taken place on July 4th.
Oh yeah.
The big one that comes to mind, of course, I think one of the grandest uh, is Jack Dempsey versus Jess Willard,
Jess.
1919 in Toledo, Ohio, in front of a
Big Jess.
raucous crowd. Yeah, Big Jess Willard, the Potawatomi Giant, and
Yeah.
Jess Willard came in as the world heavyweight champion. Jack Dempsey, aka the Manasseh Mauler, aka Kid Blackie, he came in as one of these names that was out there, but this was
Yeah.
like his first major fight on the grandest stage at that particular time for him in his career. And he delivered in a major way. I think he single-handedly with that fight sent boxing into a new stratosphere because he started it out with
Yeah.
an excellent
Definitely.
four-punch combination that dropped Willard. I mean, it just connected so nice and cleanly that it's without a doubt one of the most iconic sort of videos in boxing
Yeah.
history that is out there. I know you've seen that probably multiple times, right?
Yeah, that was one of the most, I guess, savage and one-sided world title fights ever, I believe. Especially a heavyweight, and
Yeah.
he was just he gave Willard, how to say it, uh, uh, I don't know how this, working over, yeah, whatever you call it. He
Yeah.
just ran over Willard completely, and it was
Yeah.
like watching like a woodcutter chopping down a tree, so
Yeah.
simple as that.
Indeed. Savage
Yeah,
beating. It was a savage beating.
savage.
It's so crazy because at that particular time you didn't have to go to a neutral corner. So
Yeah,
Jesse, he just was getting it from every angle. I mean, he could
and
see him
if
there
you,
just hovering over, like, please don't hit me, like wait,
yeah,
let me get up or whatever. But Dipsy
and
was on him.
if you remember what that famous or infamous Mike Tyson ran when he compared himself to Jack Dempsey and Sonny
Oh yeah.
Liston, so
He
that
said,
says everything. Those were his idols, his main
yeah.
idols, and
I mean, ultimate homage right there. He said, I'm
Yeah,
Sony Listen. I'm Jack Dempsey. I'm from their cloth. So
yeah.
he's saying that for a
There's
reason.
nobody that can beat me. My defense is impregnable. My style is impetuous.
Yeah, iconic words there from Mike Tyson. But without a doubt, Jack Dempsey, yeah, definitely one of. He's arguably the most popular champion we've seen
Yeah.
ever because at his heyday, or in his heyday, and at his peak, man, he was
Mm,
world renowned, and he was like the man, and that was at a time where if you had
yeah.
the world heavyweight title, then you were probably the most famous person in the world in the literal sense, you know.
Fully.
And Dempsey, he did himself favors by having this all offense style that was really centered on him savagely going in, exchanging punches, not really
Mm,
caring what he was going to take back, but really just kind of going in and just offensively digging into fighters. And I think
yeah,
that's
he
one of the
was.
prime examples of a great July 4th fight right there.
Yeah, he was Mike Tyson before Mike Tyson. Simply put,
Indeed.
he was. You didn't see much of those. I mean, there were other guys who were like swinging wildly, but they weren't so good. They were like those, how do you call it, very crude and unpolished. But
Yeah.
what's great about Dempsey, he was he well, he didn't shrink from a challenge, and he took on like guys like Carpentier, who was a technically a
Oh, yeah.
better boxer, and Gene Tunney also, and
Yeah.
he beat most of his opponents except for Tunney, of course, and
Yeah.
he also had a rough time against Luis Firpo. He was knocked out of the
Made
ring.
for a very exciting fight right there.
Yeah, and a really strong guy, a bigger guy also than himself. So he came back to knock him out, and yeah,
Yeah,
he
if
was.
that fight went down today, it'd be the most talked about fight out there right now. You know, just given the way it
Yeah,
went down. That was an
yeah.
exciting one.
Luckily, Firpo didn't have much of a defense, obviously, so you know
Yeah.
wasn't that hard for Jack to come back and just knock him out.
Pretty crazy right there. That was certainly a good one. But yeah, Dempsey definitely is a name that ring bells. He fought other times as well on July 4th. I know one of them is I don't remember the exact year, but he fought Tommy Gibbons on July 4th as well.
All
And
right.
Tommy Gibbons, part of the fighting tandem of Tommy and Mike Gibbons, his brother, who fought at a smaller weight. I think Mike Gibbons was more so in that middleweight range. But Tommy
Oh yeah,
Gibbons, he's really a better light heavyweight, but he fought up at
yeah.
heavyweight as well. And he
That
went the
was
distance with Dempsey. Yeah.
yeah. Tony Gibbons was a very good fighter too. I think I've done a thread about him earlier in this forum. And yeah, he was a better light heavyweight definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, this was 1923. So he went the distance with Jack Dempsey, but Gibbons, he's an underrated fighter. I mean,
Mm,
he had in like 100 plus fights, only four
yeah.
losses, somewhere around there.
Mm,
Um,
very good record.
he's a solid boxer, a very good boxer.
Mm.
Got to give him props for that. Hey, Rodolfo
Oh,
Rivera Jr., what's up
hey.
with you? Shout out Rodolfo. Uh,
Hello, Rodolfo. Nice to
Hi,
see you.
Jekka, how's it going?
Hey,
Hey,
Jacka,
Boz, nice to
thanks.
see you again.
Nice
Good
to see
stuff.
you
Hi,
too.
Jekka. Appreciate you dropping in.
Hi, Jacker. Yeah.
And Rodolfo says, Opetaia pulled the upset, man. Yeah, we were just discussing that a little bit earlier there, Rodolfo.
You
I haven't
sure
caught the
did.
fight. Yeah, I haven't caught that fight. I think Slavin may have caught some of the highlights or something, but I haven't caught the
Yeah.
fight. But I did see that he pulled off the upset victory over Marius Briedis, who I think both Boz and I both had high regards for. Of course, it was always going to be a question of how does this inactivity and this long time off in between fights, how does that actually going to affect him as he's getting up there in age? And I haven't seen the fight yet, but I'm assuming that Opetaia, being the younger fighter, probably had just a bit more juice than what Briedis could muster up at this point in his career.
Yeah, yeah, certainly. He is definitely the younger, much younger man. Yeah, I think also a little bit taller. That's not
Oh,
so
yeah,
maybe so much of a factor. Yeah,
yeah, hijacker. Yeah, crazy to think. Yeah, yeah, it is. It is. Hey, if you stick around long enough, they say, then you'll eventually lose to someone.
yeah,
That's the way it
yeah.
is in the sport.
Briedis, he can be satisfied that he lost only to the best. I mean, in his prime, he lost to the best guy, and even that
Mhm.
wasn't a clear loss in my
Yeah,
eyes to Usyk. And now,
yeah, that's
he
true.
was past his best, but also lost to a good guy, a good fighter, obviously. So yeah,
Yeah, but he beat the other best, the other top guys in the division. So yeah,
yeah,
definitely a very good fighter representing Latvia.
yeah. By
So he was
far the
able to
best
get there.
from that country so far, by far.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, without a doubt, without a doubt, yeah. And he made a name for himself out there doing it the hard way. He fought his way to
yeah,
get to where he is. So good stuff for Briedis there. So we'll see where he goes from here, where Opetaia goes from here as
yeah,
well. But I'm definitely gonna try and check out that fight for sure. So
yeah. Just hope that Briedis doesn't seek a rematch. Usually what happens, it
oh
goes
yeah,
even worse. In the rematch, it gets stopped or something.
yeah, yeah. We'll see if that happens.
Yeah,
Yeah, given the second, it was a UD. It seemed like the cards were somewhat close, but a unanimous
yeah,
decision for Opetaia. So maybe that's
yeah,
not in order, but you never know. You never know.
yeah,
We're gonna get Cambosos versus Haney too.
yeah.
So hey, if it's in the contract, I guess there's a way to make it happen.
All right.
So that should be
Oh,
interesting as well. But
yeah.
yeah, so we're Rodolfo Hijacker. Came in. We were talking about some of the bigger fights that take place on July 4th in light of the July 4th sort of holiday, at least here in the U.S. July 4th Independence Day holiday. One of the fights that we just mentioned was Jack Dempsey versus Jess Willard in 1919 in Toledo, Ohio, out there in the beaming
Toledo.
sun, and how Jack Dempsey was able to systematically destroy Jess Willard, the Potawatomi giant. Took that beat 6'6", 250 plus pound fighter, beat him across the ring, and
Wow.
it was a savage beating. It's
Yeah,
probably one of the more savage beatings you'll see on you'll see in a boxing match, especially from
yeah.
that particular time. And it catapulted him into mega stardom in a sense.
And that fight was one of the first to prove that size doesn't really matter, in boxing. Not that
Yes,
much.
yes,
Yeah.
without a doubt. Without a doubt, I think it was just a case of Willard. He had their varying opinions on things like Doc Kearns came out later in life and said that that Dempsey had plaster of Paris in his gloves. That can't be proven. I don't know. I don't subscribe to that. They did have a bitter sort of breakup there at the end of Dempsey's career because Dempsey
All right.
became a bit more Hollywood, and
Yeah.
I think he severed ties with Doc Kearns, who had been his manager leading up to
Mhm.
his highest points or whatever. And of course, that can leave a bit of bitterness out there in some sense,
Yeah.
maybe between both in some regards or whatever. But I do think that it was a matter of Dempsey. I mean, Willard, he wasn't a great boxer, and
No.
his title run in itself was pretty much lackluster overall. So I think it's just the right timing for Dempsey and the right game
Yeah.
plan in terms of him going in with the approach that he did, just catching Willard sort of now I won't say necessarily off guard, but Willard I think if it would have been a slower paced fight, Willard would have acquiesced to that. But Dempsey didn't allow for that. He made sure that he went straight in and
Hmm.
gave it 100%. And the rest was history, as they say.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't. He knew what he had to do to win, and he did it. And even without with those accusations in mind, I mean, it's obvious that he simply ran over Willard. Simply, he just was so much better in that fight,
Yeah,
much more effective and all that.
yeah, without a doubt. Now, another big July 4th fight was one that took place in 1910 on July 4th in Reno, Nevada. And that was Jack Johnson versus James Jeffries. James
Oh
J.
yeah,
Jeffrey.
that's big.
Now, James J. Jeffrey was in his return bout. Jack Johnson had been a champion, made several defenses, and they were looking for someone to dethrone Jack Johnson. So they lured Jeffries out of retirement. He hadn't fought in 5 plus years. He
Yeah,
hadn't fought since 1904. This fight took place in 1910, and he had to drop a lot of weight, and he looked to be in pretty solid shape. He's got his body back in a good condition, at least visually. He looked to be pretty solid and everything. But of course, after you're out of the ring for such a long time and you're going in against Johnson right there in the prime of his career, it was in all likelihood a fool's errand in the first place. And I think it showed in the fight as Jack Johnson was able to pretty much nullify any form of offense that James Jeffries had, and James Jeffries wasn't necessarily the best boxer out there if you look at it from a fundamental standpoint. So
no,
his
yeah,
strong points were really his strength and his endurance, and of course that likely wasn't the same as it was some years prior. So he ultimately was
yeah.
basically beaten by Jack Johnson in pretty thorough fashion, and kind of quieted the hopes of Jeffries making any form of a real comeback and reign at that particular time.
Yeah, he was a strong man, no doubt. That's what his strength was mainly. Yeah, maybe some punching power also. Yeah,
Yeah, and and then of course this all ultimately led to what ended up being some years later there when Willard won it, which led back to the Dempsey fight, which was another one of those July 4th fights. So yeah, those are probably
yeah,
the two biggest that I could think of off the top of my head. I know there's probably been some stuff more in recent years or whatnot, but I think those probably set the tone in a major way, in the sense that
yeah.
those were probably they had bigger implications on just the sport as a whole
Mm.
at that particular time. So I'd imagine it's probably pretty tough topping those, just taking into account the full spectrum as far as the fight, what the fight meant, the times they were in, and then the implications and what may have been the case as we move forward in history. So probably two bigger ones right there on that July 4th time
Mm.
frame, or that July 4th date. But yeah,
Yep.
so with that in mind and with that stated, I know we want to keep this somewhat short and sweet. Pushed for 50 minutes. Of course, we went over that.
A little bit.
But yeah, of course, we'll be back in the mix here again at some other point. This is just a quick July 4th weekend
Mm.
boxing chit. And we will certainly be back in the mix here again at some point very soon. Any parting thoughts, Boz?
Yeah, I mean, the boxing landscape is becoming more exciting, I would say. This year has been very, very exciting so far. We have seen a few undisputed champions being crowned, and a few old champions who had to, get dethroned and stuff like that. And yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so I can't wait to see what's ahead of us. Yep,
Can't
that's
wait. There it
yeah.
is, folks. There it is. Likewise, I ditto that. We'll see. I think good year so far here in the sport of boxing. So
Mm,
we'll see how this weekend's fights go, and we'll be back in the mix here to discuss these things again. In the meantime, if you're on Facebook, be sure to follow at Boxing Haven. Search for it. Go in there and get the conversation started. You know where we're at here on 86 Boxing Side, but Boxing
yep.
Haven. Be sure to go follow that and check out Boz's YouTube as well.
Mm,
And
yeah, we. Mm,
and we will certainly be back in the mix. And Rodolfo Rivera, enjoy your 4th of July weekend. 86 of Nobody's country doesn't celebrate it, but enjoy the rest of your weekend, man. Indeed. Enjoy Boz for sure. Thanks, Rodolfo.
yeah.
Hijack, my mother.
Well,
Appreciate you all dropping in. Definitely enjoy the July 4th weekend. We will be back in the mix here next week. If all goes in accord, but you'll hear from us. Definitely. You'll hear from us. So
all
have a
right.
good one, everyone.
Have a good one.